Hello everybody, Mr. Pilgrim here, coming at you with a brand new Platinum Trophy guide, and that is going to be for God Eater Resurrection. Now this is going to include basically all of the trophy information, as well as some of the specifics that you will need to understand about the game. Now, as you can see from looking at my save, how long it took me just to reach this point before I even could start recording is a bit ridiculous, but this is a Monster Hunter-esque game, so grind is a big part of it. Like if you get stuck on fighting a specific origami, you can always go back and grind easier origami that you know how to fight and maybe upgrade weapons or things like that. But from my save, you're probably wondering why I waited so long to start recording, and that's because I wanted to wait until I had completely beaten the campaign of the game. As you can see, there are some story missions that I did end up doing that you don't have to do. If you really want to and you are good enough, you can blast through the main story objectives and get all three endings of the game. Do note, you don't have to do anything specific to get all three endings, you just have to play through the game. When you get the first ending, you can then keep going. As you get the first ending around, I think it's difficulty 6? I think it's something like that. It's not too far into the game, but then you have to get the next two, which will get you all the way up to difficulty 13. And then once you have beaten the third ending, you'll then have access to difficulty 14 missions as well as difficulty challenges. But now we're just going to jump into the save as there's a couple things I need to show you guys. And yeah. Alright, once you are in the main area, we're going to go over some things and progression for story mode. Now, the game doesn't automatically tell you how to progress. Sometimes in story mode, you'll just have to go around and talk to characters and use the side elevator here to go to the different areas and talk to people and trigger certain events to progress in the story. It is a bit confusing and sometimes a bit annoying as well. You can also come down here and sometimes Hibari will tell you a specific character you need to go and find and talk to. Now, another thing to talk about is, as you'll see, you'll have the difficulty 14 and challenge missions. Now, in the difficulty 14 missions, there are two specific ones that you'll have to do to unlock two secret characters. Trying to find them. Oh, hold on. So the two missions that you'll have to do to unlock them is Watch Out Overhead and Anantaboga. You will have to complete a couple of the main actual story progressed missions of difficulty 14 before you unlock them, so do keep that in mind. But from here, we're also going to talk about urgent missions. Now, you will need to do a total of 100 of these. As you can see, they go all the way up to certain difficulties, of course, and then certain ones can be a bit annoying, but I do believe uh, that you guys can do it. But basically, the main ones that I would recommend are ones that you can actually do, of course. Any that work for you. Probably one of the easiest ones that I would say would be the Ranger Yell, as it's difficulty 10. So the Bahami Origami, I don't know why I was thinking of Behemoth and Origami. I was going to say Barahemeth or something like that. I don't even know. But you will, as you'll see on the left right hand side, I'm too tired for this today, but you'll see that it's survival phase 1 of 3. So for every single one of those phases that you complete will count as a single mission, which is pretty nice and will make the grind not as bad. So you can then farm the standard 13 and 14 missions after you can do an urgent mission because they're not just available all the time. You have to do so many missions in between, and then you can do another urgent mission, like I said. Then from here, we're going to talk about equipment and gear. So one of the first trophies you can probably get is just crafting a standard weapon. Like you'll automatically start off with some, but then you can build your own. Now, probably the one thing that's going to suck the most is um, making all of the rank 14 weapons. Do note for anything, I will leave links in the description so you can keep track of which ones that you need to craft, but you will need to craft all of the rank 14s in every category. I do believe there's a total of 14. But yeah, there's a lot of rank 14s that you're going to have to craft, and I do believe some of them require you to craft other ones, and then like you have to craft a 13 and then upgrade it to a 14. I'm not entirely sure on all of these, but it is going to be a long grind indeed. I then going to talk about these skills. Now, when you get to, I believe it's difficulty 4 and above is when you start getting god arcs, like abandoned rare god arcs. Now, these will automatically have random skills on them, as you can see right here. Now, when you're in this area, you can hit the options menu, and this will show you what the skill is. Do note that the later you get into the game, you'll eventually start getting skills that automatically have to equip to them. That way, you can then equip more for less. Do note that some of the weapons in the game will also have their own skills. As you'll see, this Luxuria has a Great Devourer 4 and Far East Champion. So when you go to look at the skill on it by hitting options, you can see it has a whole lot. It has 8 skills all on its own. Do note though that whenever it comes to the trophy for activating 25 skills, there's going to be some extra work needed to put into it, of course. But the best way to check your skills and things like that as well is if you hit the options, then hit your avatar card, then my card. Here on the first one, you'll once again just hit the options to see your skill list right here. This will let you see all of these skills that you have. As you can see, I don't have that many because of the weapon I had to make for the final main story mission. I had to go back and grind, of course, but you will need to activate 25 different skills. Now, in here, if you happen to see any skill that is red, that happens to mean that you have 2 of it equipped. That is a bit annoying, but you will then have to go and find it and then figure out a way to change it out. As you can see here, this is basically what I used to fight the final main origami. Was a lightning-based weapon. I went for a scythe was my main go-to build, and a shotgun, which the shotgun wasn't really that effective for me. But from here, we're also going to talk about using the weapon for 500 different missions. Now here on the avatar card, you can see after playing through the main story missions and doing a bunch of the difficulty, I think it's like 1 through 6, I tried to do as many of the optional missions as I could. I was only able to get up to 189, as well as doing any of the urgent missions when I could. You unlock your first urgent mission around difficulty 2. So just keep that in mind. So whenever you do get the chance to do an urgent mission, go do it. Of course, when you first start out, you aren't going to have access to those survival phases. You'll only have access to like the single mission. Now, if you want to just run the easier ones, That is fine, as they will literally take you no time at all because of your damage output, saving you on some grind, but that is fully up to you. You can just check your basic stats and things like that. Ugh. Now, another thing to talk about is actually modifiers. So once you actually beat the game, you can then come into a actual normal mission. You can then modify certain settings of it, of course. You can equip whoever you want to equip. There you go. As you can see, I have the detail for it. As you can see, this will allow you to change the difficulty of the mission to a perilous challenge. Now you will need to actually do one of these. Well, actually, you'll need to do two of them, of course. One of them will be, you can just do the first one and then up it to 2 and then complete the mission, and that will basically make the fight harder, and that will get you a trophy just for doing the first one. And then the next one is actually going to be related to doing something much harder. So the next trophy to talk about is actually considered a very difficult one, and that is in the urgent section. You'll need to complete one of these 3 bottom ones. Now, probably the one that's recommended the most is Cabin Fever, but in doing so, you'll then be able to fight. There's 3 tough origami, but luckily it's survival phases. Doing so will get you a trophy in itself. Not too difficult. Once again, recommend if you are up for it and have a build for fighting the origami, of course. You can look up the specific origami that are found in these missions if you want to prepare beforehand. Luckily, you can prepare well ahead of time, but the downside is you have to do this by yourself. That is the issue. You'll have to do all 3 waves by yourself, so I highly recommend getting geared up and everything and maybe saving this for last, as it is quite difficult. But that is pretty much going to do for most of the actual main mission stuff and things like that. Like I said, crafting and stuff like that. Do note that you can get tickets, which I'm not entirely sure how all of that works. It's not really a detailed section about it, I believe. Yes. But now we're actually going to move on to actual missions. Or I should probably say another thing that you can do while playing, and that is when you go to your loadout and look at your predator style, you can then add unique effects to all of your predator styles. As you'll see, attack power, blaze, and all that. Basically, you can select the type of predator attack that you want to do. Do note that these are either by doing something like just holding triangle while not moving, which is the charge one. You have the quick one, which is by holding R1 and triangle, or L1 and triangle. I'm a little bit tired. But basically what you'll have to do in a single mission is you'll have to activate all 5 of these. Doesn't seem too hard, as basically what you can do is you can start up a charged attack on an origami that is unaware that you were right there on them, then quickly follow that up by just doing the R1 triangle for the quick one, and then when you can get behind them, simply do 1 attack or 2, depending of your choice, and then do the combo devour, and that will get you the 3rd one. And then of course you have the one to where you'll dodge into the Devour. Do note that with how mine is set up, you can have two of the same Devours and it'll still count. So do keep that in mind. And then of course the last one is when you are in the air. So simply just jumping and then activating the Devour will do that. The ones I have work out pretty well. Now do note most of the trophies won't pop until you complete the mission itself. So do keep that in mind as it can be a bit annoying. But yeah, that will also get you a trophy. I do believe it is a gold trophy as well. Now, when it comes to farming and things like that, I don't have the best build or know-how for that, and I would highly recommend finding one that works for you, as I was just winging it the whole time that I was playing through the game, and didn't really try and look up or find any builds that I thought would work for me. I was just doing sheer blunt force and stubbornness to get through the game, and that's what led to a lot of frustration and probably could have saved me some time when going through the game. But yeah, like I said, from here, once you have completed the main story, there is a lot of other things you'll probably end up doing along the way, of course. But when you're doing that, you'll want to devour mid-fight, of course, and that will also get you a trophy. Whenever you complete a mission, you can look down in the bottom of the screen, and that'll show you how many devourers you got, how many link bursts you got. So what you'll need to do is you'll need to devour an origami mid-fight. That will give you a buff to your bullets. So what you'll do is instead of shooting those bullets like normal, you'll hold R1 and triangle when looking at an ally, and that will allow you to give them a buff. Doing that will also get you a trophy. Now, once you get into the later stages of the game, especially the last story mission, you are going to need to revive an ally. That will also get you a trophy, as, of course, most things do. Now, another one to talk about is using the enemy types and their weaknesses. Now, the last main story mission is weak to frost and lightning or spark, and is a divine origami. Now, when playing through the game, you can always check what the origami are weak to, and that will help you take them down. So, once again, going back and grinding for weapons and things like that to swap between helps out along the way, because when you know a weakness of a origami, it makes it easier to defeat them because you're doing more damage overall. But that is also a trophy in itself, as you'll have to use a origami's weakness and then hit them in a critical point, and doing so will also get you a trophy. There's not that many trophies for this game, but the ones that they do have are pretty daunting and time consuming. As you could see, for me specifically, just completing the main story mission and getting all 13 or all 3 endings, you can tell I'm tired. It took me roughly 50 hours of play. And I'm not even halfway through doing 500 missions with the same equipment. That will probably be one of the last ones that you will get, of course, as well as doing the urgent missions. Like I said, I will leave links to any of the specific trophies and things like that in case you want to double check on anything that I might have missed or things that I think are important. That way you guys know. But hopefully this video is at least somewhat helpful and informative in some way, shape, or form in helping you guys figure out what all you'll have to do to get the Platinum Trophy, as it is definitely quite a grind, and it has kicked my ass just getting to this point in the game, as after a certain point, enemies just one-shot you. I don't know why. It hurt, but I did happen to find a very specific skill that I had that really saved my ass. So let's see if I can find it. It's right here, firm stand. I happened to equip it and it really saved my life. Basically, as long as I stayed above half HP, if I got hit and it would kill me or knock me out, it would just instead put me at 1 HP or something like that. A bit ridiculous, but it literally saved me tons of time. And then as well, I also put Wild Instinct on just to give me more attack power. Because if I'm already going to get hit and be under, um, you know, a certain HP limit, why not? But yeah, hopefully, you guys have better luck than I did. Like I said, I just brute forced it and was just going for whatever and was being really stubborn. Maybe you guys can have better luck and take your time when it comes to crafting and learning origami. Maybe 2 and 3 will be better. I don't know if I'm going to immediately jump into doing those as a trophy guide. Might do something else just to give me a break because this definitely kicked my ass. But as always, this has been Mr. Pilgrim. I do hope this video was somewhat helpful or informative in any way, shape, or form that it could be. And as always, I will see you guys in the next Platinum Trophy Guide.